today's feature, which is Baby Boy again from 2001, I believe June 29th, if I'm not mistaken, give or take. Coming up soon, 20th anniversary of this release of this film, starring Tyrese Gibson, as well as, I'm going to fuck a name up, not intentionally, but her name confuses me. Like, she has one of those names that gives me like dyslexia, which I don't have. And shout out to all the dyslexia people out there who like have made, wonderful, prosperous lives of themselves despite the dyslexia taking over their lives. But she's got one of those names for me that gives me dyslexia, like Taraji P. Henson. There's her, there's Snoop Dogg, there's Omar Jr., who we never really got enough of, I think, in film or period. He's really funny in this film as well, too. And directed by, of course, rest in peace, John Singleton, who I got the pleasure of meeting up, I want to say, like, 5 years ago. Whenever the last milestone anniversary was for Boys in the Hood, he did a special screening of it. I forget where exactly or what it's called, but it's like, I think it's part of Tribeca or linked to it, like one of the Tribeca theaters somewhere in downtown Manhattan, like, again, like 5, maybe 4 years ago, something like that. They had a special screening of Boys in the Hood, and of all people, they didn't announce anybody. No Cuba Gooding Jr., no Ice-T, Ice Cube. I try to differentiate my Ice-T's and Cubes as best as I can, but I get them mixed up every once in a while. But no Ice Cube, obviously. No one else from the film ever showed up for that screening. But then all of a sudden when you left, surprise, surprise, one of the first people I see coming out the front door as I'm standing there checking my phone as soon as the film was done, I checked it for whatever reason. Lo and behold, it's fucking John Singleton. He just rolls up. He's like, no people around him. It wasn't until, I guess, I noticed him like at the corner of my eye, and I looked and I was like, wait, John Singleton? Out of nowhere. And I swooped in, I said hello. I took a picture with him too. He was super nice. Very, very nice guy, formidable as far as like, I don't even know what we talked about. I was like so like befuddled that of all people, John Singleton would be there himself for the screening and shit. So I didn't even know what to ask or talk to him about, but I was nice. I was like, hey, great flick. I mean, of course, it's been so long since it's been released, but great piece of work, still stands the test of time. He's like, yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate it too. Took a picture with him, but I think I lost that picture purposely before he passed, only because I look so fat in that picture. Like, I don't know, my belly got cut off guard, or like I had double chin action going on real heavy, because I guess I was a little heavier back then. I might have been going through some stress or whatever. I think I know why too, probably like my past relationship too. But I got rid of that picture, I think, and I might have deleted it permanently. But yeah, shout out to John Singleton, and rest in peace, of course, to John Singleton, ever since passing on. But yeah, Baby Boys from 2001. It's been a long ass time. I don't want to say since 2001, but at least 2000-something, 2006, 2010 maybe, since I've seen this film in its entirety. Mostly I've caught it bits and pieces here and there astray whenever it's been on cable TV for whatever the cause, whatever the reason. But then again, it's one of those made-for-TV versions that, like, you don't really want to stick with it, because first off, they drag it out to, like, if this movie alone was like 2 hours, which it is right at the 2-hour mark, surprisingly, when they played on like the USA Network, when they played on, I don't know, Paramount, or when they used to have Spike TV back then, they drag it out to like 3.5, 4-hour versions, commercials, ads, edited for content. But if they're trimming down if they're trimming out most of the movie, at least like the overly sex parts, violent, whatever too as well, you would think it'd make the movie shorter, obviously. But then of course, commercials, they take over like a motherfucker. And then only like the anniversary, like The Godfather, when they used to do that whole thing for a day, Godfather 1 would play, I remember, for like 5 hours, the TV version. And then they do, oh, you know what? You're stuck through it for 5 hours. We might as well tag along number 2, which is like 6 hours, because that was slightly longer. But then because editing, formatting for TV, commercials again, even though they promise you limited commercials, but limited, would have been for like a 3-hour flick compared to it. But then this is a 5-hour flick, so then I guess they inflate the ratio enough to be like, well, if you do the math and you're fair to us, considering we gotta get paid too because we're showing you this movie for free outside of you paying your cable box and shit. This is the back in the day of cable before, you know, streaming services took over now with like this one, that one over there. Your grandmother have a streaming service too as well. You know, they abuse that shit now. But then, and then on top of that, they throw Godfather. No, actually, no. I think if I remember correctly, they didn't throw in Godfather 3, which thank God they didn't, because that was always, I don't care who you ask, I don't care who you show this to as evidence to try to show me is wrong if you happen to be a fan of Godfather 3, but Godfather 3 is the worst one out of all of them. So there's no fucking debating that with me. I'm sorry. I like to be fair, optimistic, and open with anybody's opinion. I respect it as best as I can and as much as I can. But Godfather 3 is a fucking no-no. Is it the Kevin Mutombo? No. Out of here with that shit. I'll take 1 and 2 gladly. I'll take it for like 10, 12-hour versions for a fucking day if I got the time to spare on a Sunday. But don't throw in 3. That's why I fucking clock out. But, okay, Mad Cat. I always thought that the commercials skip some parts because of commercials. I don't know what you mean by that exactly, bro, but commercials skipping commercials, I guess. The commercials canceling out commercials too. But yeah, that's like Baby Boy is one of those too, because in itself it's 2 hours. The TV version I remember would be like 4 hours, almost 3.5 too, because commercials play the shit out and then they gotta fill in the spots. And then I remember too, they gotta edit it accordingly so it could fit the TV slot it's allotted to, because it's not like HBO, which they'll do the whole runtime of the film, like an hour, 32 minutes of shit like that. They'll cut it at when it cuts, put in filler commercials, little blocks or something like that too, and then it's 5:15, finally we can start the other film on a time that makes sense per se. I thought that commercials skip parts of the movie when they come on. Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, if shit's like too gory, not made for TV per se, that's the whole purpose of them editing for TV initially, the content. But then the length of time, how much of it can they show really? And then when you do edit shit to take it out, as far as making it enticing enough for TV, you got to consider like, okay, did we edit too much out? Is it going to make sense still, whatever? Like another good example of that, which is a really bad fucking TV movie to watch, but excellent otherwise when you got the time to do so, is like Step Brothers. I love that movie. It's like in my top 5 comedy films of all time, but don't ever watch the TV version. It's a waste of time. Most of that shit is like, fuck this, fuck that, dicks on the drumsticks and whatever too. Everything's blanked out, everything's censored. All the fucking great lines, the most quotable, memorable lines are like blanked out. Of course they're not gonna show testicles on fucking TV either, unless it's like after midnight, I think. And maybe like a shit here and there too. We'll make it through the floodgates per se. Other than that, it's like a waste of time to even watch that, because then if you watch that first and never watch the real movie version, you're gonna think, why did I waste my time watching that? How are people like heralding this as a comedy classic per se? So you rob yourself of that opportunity. It gets confusing. It's just like, well, on a lesser scale, it's like when I watched episode 1 for Star Wars as my very first entry into Star Wars, start and finish. People told me I did it wrong because that's the worst one out of all of them. But I never went back since anyway to Star Wars. I've been meaning to, and it would have made sense probably this year for like May the 4th, whatever. And I got a lot of friends that love Star Wars anyway. And I did like both seasons of The Mandalorian as well too. I probably owe it to myself to go back to Star Wars eventually and do it justice by going either number order, I think I was told, or just start with episode 4. I don't know. It's all confusing. But listen, everything's trying to coexist here as one, because that's the point of who this been watching. I'm here to tell you about what I fucking watched most recently, what we're gonna fucking pay homage and pay respects to, as far as, again, of course, pinned in the comments. You can see right there, everybody joining in on the live. Shout out to Iron Flow God for joining the live as well. Baby Boy, 2001, 20 years since its release. It's a fucking, well, you know what? We're gonna save the good or bad comments for the end as best as we can and actually dissect and deep dive into the shit right now. So, I like to start off with a little bit of facts, random little bits and pieces of trivia per se that maybe you knew, I didn't, vice versa. But either way, we share in the wealth of knowledge concerning the source material we're going to be consulting and exploring right now. Throat was feeling weird. Excuse me for taking a swig in front of you. And hopefully you're not thirsty. But you're thirsting right now for another episode of Who This Been Watching. Thank you for joining in live, and or if you're watching on YouTube, and or you're listening on your podcasting platform of preference, or app, better yet said. So yeah, first things first. I usually try to do a little bit of odd trivia, funny, movie, budget, whatever the fuck else too. But I think these two bits of info might stand on their own legs and do this justice. So first, as I mentioned, it's starring Tyrese Gibson, which we know him by now for like however long he's been a part of the Fast and Furious franchise ever since. I think since the second one, he's been there doing that. And he's been a part of the fucking Transformers franchise. I don't know if he's been in all of them because I wouldn't dare watch all of them. I think I saw the first two and then that was enough for me. And then he's had some other shit too, I forget. Like, I guess maybe royalties from the music he used to do, or maybe from Baby Boy as well. I don't know too, but he got pretty lucky because he's sitting cushy on that Transformer check that never stops. Fucking coming in, residuals. They got a new one that you just titled that's going to come out soon enough as well too, which count me out. I clocked out after the second Transformer. I was good enough on that. And then he's got the Fast and Furious shit, which I think debuts tomorrow, the 9th installment of the franchise, the 10th in the whole thing universe itself, period, because you got to count fucking Hobbs and Shaw as well too. So technically the 10th Fast and Furious film. And then we got to see how long that lasts until. Is it going to be like the movie version of Days of Our Lives, that old TV sitcom that goes on for like 50, 60, however many years? The actors have kids in real life. Their kids get written into fucking roles for the series and start taking over for the parents and then start blending real life with sitcom life. Is that going to be the same thing with Fast and Furious? And does that mean we'll necessarily get like Tyrese's kids who he was crying over for so long, however long ago that was? Are they going to be in the film as part of his contract when he tries to re-up and shit too? And now they got John Cena in the mix. The Rock's already been in there too. It's a whole plethora going on there. But point is, Tyrese has been really fucking lucky, I'd say, considering in the movie realm. Because had he not been available, and had they originally casted who they had in mind, John Singleton more specifically speaking of, had they casted who they had originally in mind for the baby boy role, it'd be a whole different story, I think, for Tyrese, because I want to say this was his breakout role. I'm pretty sure it is. Correct me if I'm wrong otherwise, but for Tyrese, in Tyrese terms, I think this was what put him on the map. On the Google Maps, like a little pin and shit when you drop it on there for your location of preference, as far as movies go, because originally it was supposed to go to Tupac. And that doesn't sound too surprising to me, to be honest, because Tupac was doing his acting thing. As we remember, rest in peace, Pac, of course, first and foremost. I'm still gonna call me a dummy, call me believing too thoroughly in conspiracy for my own good, but I will still tempt faith by saying I still believe that perhaps it's all a ploy and he's still alive somewhere. You know, no fingerprints, no face tracing technology, whatever, somewhere remotely in Cuba, in the outskirts of. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not fully convinced he's RIP'd yet, but just in case he is legit RIP'd. RIP, rest in peace of Tupac. But he was supposed to be originally baby boy in this film, or Jody, better yet said, because he I forget the name of the film he did with what's his fucking face? Was it Jim Belushi, the one that the brother that survived? He did that cop movie. He did Poetic Justice. He did Juice, obviously. A lot of shit that stood out for him or made him stand out as far as, oh, this guy can actually act dramatic if he needs to. And, you know, Pac was a multifaceted, very layered individual too. Like, he can do Brenda's Got a Baby. He could do, you know, I Get Around. You know the Pac hits by now. He was like, that's what I liked about him too. He's multifaceted. I wouldn't put him in my top 25 rappers of all time, probably. Maybe somewhere in the top 20. Maybe. But I would put him in there as far as top most poetic like, MCs, rappers, whatever, and the ones that made a huge contribution to the culture as far as being such a staple, such an icon, so significant to the culture and enriched with it too. I mean, same applies to Biggie too, but then Biggie does belong in like top 5, top 10 MCs of all time, hands down. That's no question right there. But it was supposed to be Tupac originally, which would have made sense. I think this film would have been like catered to him, up his alley, and might have actually been maybe his breakout role. I mean, okay, there was Bishop and Juice. We all love him for that. He was great in that, no question. Poetic Justice also, okay, great in that, no question either. Above the Rim, I think, right? He was in that too as well. And some others. But I think this might have been the one that really would have just harnessed him fully and shown his full dramatic range. Low-key comedic range like we get here from Tyrese throughout the fucking shit. It would have really shined the spotlight very brightly on already a star in the making, if not already technically a star, as far as Hollywood standards are concerned, with Tupac. So, but if you compare the two, I don't know, just based off the acting alone we've seen from Pac up until that point, till he, got bodied, or rest in peace, of course, Tupac. I think he could have pulled it off convincingly. I think it would have been enjoyable. As enjoyable as we got, yet to be determined, of course. We're not doing the review just yet with Tyrese. I put it up there in that ballpark. I wouldn't say exactly just there, but I with the time that passed, had he made it to actually make the film too, maybe another movie or two before that one got made and released and shit, I think it would have given just as good a performance, if not maybe even better, because people love Tupac so much. He would have definitely been a superstar had he still been alive, and he would have done a lot more too. I think it would have been about the same level quality, maybe a tad bit better perhaps, but that's debatable. And of course we're like playing pretend scenario with had he lived long enough to play this role. Well, that's the first part that was like, I could have seen that. Now here's the second one too of part two of I could have seen that. That would have worked out too, I think, to a lesser extent. Originally, the part that Snoop Dogg plays in this film, Rodney, the jailbird, I guess you can say, that makes his way home after doing a bid, and he was the first one to actually fuck Jody's first better off with baby mother, Taraji, here in this film. He was the first one to have her, but he had no kids with her, so technically he's, erased out of her pussy history. And that goes to Jody because he might have been the better dick she had, and of course she had his kids, so he means more in her life versus Rodney. But Rodney, in this case, played by Snoop Dogg, very wonderfully by Snoop Dogg, by the way, was originally supposed to be Ice Cube, actually. Which, Ice Cube, to his credit, hasn't been, I'd want to say, in the best of films. He hasn't really had good luck with that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There might be some I'm missing, but I know for the most part, he doesn't have as great a track record film-wise as Snoop does, because I want to say Snoop was in Training Day. I don't remember to be exact, or to be honest, but I know he was the guy in the wheelchair, I think. And he's been in some other ones too that have been pretty good to actually great films too. And Snoop Dogg by now, he's well known and renowned throughout the world and crossed over generations. And regardless of how old or young you are, you most likely know who Snoop Dogg is, as well as Ice Cube, I'd say too. I mean, there's no denying Ice Cube's contribution to music, NWA, his first 3 solo albums, which I fucking love so much. And I think he's like in that elusive club of guys that had gone, first 6 albums all went platinum as soon as they dropped, something like that. I forget the accolade exactly, but he's in there with LL. It's Ice Cube, LL Cool J, and I forget who else. Like, they all had their first 6 albums go platinum, as soon as they dropped. But acting-wise, Cube, I don't know if he really got that kind of because he was doing that comedy shit for a long while too, kind of like The Rock. I guess it worked if you want to like introduce Ice Cube to your kids like that. But then I finally remember and sorely missed Ice Cube from MWA, from, you know, Friday, next Friday, Friday after next. Anything else he might have done. Even Anaconda Ice Cube. Even though Anaconda was, well, you know, I think he got to at least feel up J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, in some scenes. So that's, I mean, good enough payoff, I'd say, for being an Anaconda of all things. And smart man, he didn't end up in the sequel or the third one, if I think there was a third Anaconda. I didn't watch past the first one, obviously. HBO was like on the illegal cable box, so we had that. We were able to watch Anaconda, and then, you know, well, you know, some things in life that are free ain't so glamorous. That's all I'll say about Anaconda. Not the greatest of films. And then again, J-Lo starring, so it's like, you know, are you really strapped in for like popcorn in the movie that's going to be memorable, or more like, you know what, I might as well get diarrhea and just like cut this shit off and like miss it and let it go to on demand or like VHS when Blockbuster was a thing back when, and then never ever fucking acknowledged I watched this shit. But yeah, Ice Cube was supposed to be Rodney. I could see it. Eyebrows alone and mean mug face alone, whatever, requiring a thug to look convincing, to be the fucking villain in the film too and shit. Absolutely, Ice Cube couldn't have done that on looks alone. Acting wise, I think so too. But by this time, 2001, Snoop was already proven as a pretty good actor. Funny, naturally funny, charismatic, everything too, that just carries on to the fucking camera when the lens goes on and shit too, when the record button gets hit as well. So Snoop was a natural, and he's just playing a, I guess, exaggerated version of himself. I mean, depending on who you believe and on his history, his dirt he's done before, as he said himself too. It's not too far removed from what he's done or the world he's been exposed to or lived in up until that point. So, but I could also see Ice Cube doing that. I think the subtlety as far as Snoop being more villainous, still kind of being not so multifaceted, layered as, you know, Jody was, Melvin was, anybody else in the movie was too. I think you wouldn't get that with Cube. He would just play like, he would just have his fucking straight mean mugged face on the whole time because they would think that's the only role I can play here. Meanwhile, Snoop knows to have fun with it. Snoop would know to be like, okay, I can mean mug, I can be the dick, I can be the villain, I can be the thug, whatsoever too, but I can get my little fucking bits of humor slipped in here and there too. Scene with the little kid, knocking down his fort made out of pillows because he hates him, so he wants to protect himself from fucking Ronnie, who's a thug and who's a convict and shit too. Just kicks it over and whatever. What does he call him when he fucking wakes up and sees a kid out there? Like, good morning, motherfucker, good morning, loser, something like that too. I forget. But yeah, I think we had more fun with Snoop overall, and I think Snoop would have won that one. So the better choice was made for the film. Not to put Ice Cube down, but Snoop, I think, wins that one every time, all the time. I don't know. You can tell me what you think in the comments below, either on YouTube, here live on Instagram first as you get it, the uncut, uncensored, uncircumcised version of Who This Been Watching, hosted by me, Who This, of course. Now, we'll get into the film itself. Again, 2001's Baby Boy, starring again Tyrese, Taraji, and her dyslexic-inducing, confusing ass name Henson, like the puppets. You got fucking Snoop Dogg, you got fucking Ving, Rhames, and some other folks too as well. And oh yeah, Omar Gooden. Yeah, very essential part of the film. Very fucking good part of the film. Very fun part of the film. Surprisingly, a lot of fun is had in this film. At the expense of, you know, you get all these shades of colors from these people on the inside, as far as like their characters. They evolve, they de-evolve, they're exposed, they're out there in the open, they're fucking, you know, out there for you to actually do character studies on if you're into that shit, with movies and everything of the sorts too. And it's a John Singleton film, of course. You get a lot of that too, a lot of introspective, deep talk and shit too. So as far as the opening is concerned, that's where you get hit with something you wouldn't expect, I would think, usually from this type of film, which is supposed to be, I guess, like a character piece or study of, like, I guess, a black man in this case growing up in LA, or at that time, modern times. because it starts off with a very introspective Tyrese, or in this case Jody from the film. I forget how the quote goes exactly. It's very lengthy, but basically he's like reflecting on what a therapist once said about the black man in America, where the black man is basically born and bred to have an infantile mind state / lifestyle, where because it's as simple as black men always refer to the women as mama, they refer to their friends as their boys, and or their home as a crib. So they're bred practically in every way, shape, and form, their environment, what they're exposed to, what's marketed towards them, and what's expected of them to be nothing more than grown children, pretty much. Stereotypes, heavily, yes, of course, there's been the whole thing with, BLM and such on the uprise in the past year and such with the pandemic, George Floyd, rest in peace, of course. Also, it's a very touchy thing, but I like that it's not kind of like thrown in your face or made into something purposely pro-black, and that's all it is. I don't think we see any white people, period, in this film, actually, now that I think about it. I'm drawing blanks here. I don't think we see any white people at all, now that I mention it. At all in this film, I don't think so. That's surprising. Do we get Mexicans? I don't even think we get... No Mexicans either. Wow. A fully black film, I believe. But yeah, that's... I just noticed that right now, but okay. But yeah, it's a very deep opening, and of course, what throws you off a little bit too is Tyrese, or Jody, excuse me, sees himself in the womb, in the fucking embryonic sac that an infant would find himself in, as he's thinking but speaking this from his mind as he goes further into thought with what the fuck he's just been saying, as far as the black man being raised purposely to think he's a child. Not to think, but to not go beyond the infantile state of mind of just, I want quick, easy things immediately accessible to me and such. And he's stuck in this fucking embryonic sac, afraid, it seems like, to come out or to break loose from it, as he hears, screams of him dying. Apparently he's scared of what he's hearing or seeing or feeling or possibly experiencing as well too. It's really deep. It's really some other shit, basically. Visually wise, it's kind of like a little head scratching, but when it's put together beautifully as it is, with the message, what he's reflecting on, and his fear apparently of breaking loose from what he knows and exploring the outside realm of what's to wait for him or what's expected from him outside of the fucking sack. I think that's the fear of actually becoming a man, hence the title Baby Boy, and why he's dubbed Baby Boy throughout the film. The synopsis is basically just a man who's like an overgrown child, has 2 baby mothers, still lives at home with his mama, has to deal with his mama actually wanting to live her life because presumably she's young enough to do so and has a right to do so, to go about with her life, as far as having a new boyfriend who becomes stay-at-home boyfriend, who was a con, who did like, I think it was either 10 or 20 years or whatever. I think they change the numbers every so often, but I think it might have been 20. Just came from a bid, but he has his own business. He's, doing his business, handling his business, mostly with, Jody's mother, who's a piece of ass, by the way, too. Shout out to her. Chef's kiss of a MILF, better yet said, in simpler terms. Jody's caught up in the fact that there's that going on at home. He's not really doing nothing with his life. He has no steady job. He has the one baby mother who is pretty much waiting for him to put a ring on it, and who does deliver as far as actually gives him money or works 9 to 5 regularly, has a place of her own where he chooses not to be in because he doesn't want to be tied down like that. He'd rather be at his mama's crib because that way he's free to fuck on the side, whoever he feels like, so that way he doesn't feel like he's compromised already. Because I guess he's compromised enough, mentally and emotionally with the child they share in common, because he also has another child, a daughter, with a side piece apparently that he liked a little too much, and she is a piece of ass, I can't blame him, but she's like the fun younger girl he wants to be around, fucked around too many times, probably with the condom off, the condom slip or broke, and then of course they had a kid. She's the other baby mother who like doesn't take anything seriously. She's young, she's pretty, she's more concerned about getting dick every so often and just like having fun, still living as a young girl would. So you can't blame her for that either, because, you know, she just became a mother all of a sudden, but she's not really taking that serious, to the point where Taraji, baby mother 1, has to take care of baby mother's 2 child whenever she comes through to finally remember to pick up her own child and take her ass back home too. But she's stuck caring for 2. Then there's the fact that Jody, again, can't take life seriously. He's just kind of day in, day out. Nothing really matters. There's no feeling of a Monday coming up, creeping up on him where he regrets or loathes it. Like every day's kind of like Saturday late afternoon for him, where nothing's taken seriously. It gets a lot deeper than that. It gets a lot more introspective than that. But that's the whole premise, basically. How he either grows or learns to adapt with what he's known for so long, apparently. And that's the beauty of it all, because then once we get that weird, awkward, but still meaningful opening, it goes into basically him with baby mother number 2, the irresponsible, younger, prettier one, where made me realize and see that I never want to know anybody, let alone be friends with anybody who's capable of dragging a woman out of a shower, in the middle of the shower, to ask her what the fuck she doing in the shower, and can she make some goddamn food for him already because he's hungry. So we're barely 5 minutes into the film, and it's basically just fuck Jody. He's a fucking dick. Like, how could you like this asshole? Pretty much, this self-centered, selfish asshole. And then, funny enough, we finally meet Jody's mom, not baby mother, but legit mother, the one who raised him, gave birth to him, and brought other men around at home when he was younger, because, you know, she was still young when she had him. Still young while he's grown. I think presumably he's like 20-ish, 21, whatever here too as well. Funny enough, what was her name? I forgot her name. I was gonna write her name down, but I forgot it. But his mom is a piece of ass, mind you. And no offense to Taraji P. Henson, no offense to baby mother number 2, whoever the actress was too here as well. But the baby mother they picked, I think her name was Juanita in the film, I'm not sure. Whoa, what a piece of ass. Again, fucking MILF, fucking ring the alarm, sound the sirens. We got a MILF on the fucking loose. A cougar, if you may, if she's even that old, presumably in the film. I think she might not be in the 40s yet, because I think, that's the age range, right? Cougar is like 40 and up, on the hunt for steady dick, or preferably young dick, as the cougars do. You know, I don't mind a cougar here and there too, but I'm trying to be a gentleman here, of course. I'm not that young either, but for the older cougar, the platinum, silver-haired level cougars, I'm still a young piece of meat, so I'm still viable enough for the hunt. But yeah, she's a piece of ass. So of course, she's able to fucking presumably tie down someone as big and as scary and as imposing as Ving Rhames is, aka Melvin, of all things. Now listen, Melvin is one of those names, I'd say, to be honest, isn't imposing. You don't really shake in your boots out of fear, ready to piss yourself because, oh shit, Melvin's coming through. No, not necessarily. But he is the size, the look, and the thug / swagger enough to be like, oh shit, Melvin's coming through. I better haul ass, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be caught around him. He's going to look at me all funny and I'm going to shit myself at some point, or at least have like a turtle head poking in and out because I'm scared. I'm scared of what he might do to me just because, or I look at him funny, or I like take the biggest piece of chicken off the plate by mistake and then I forgot he was hungry and worked the double and whatever, and then oh shit, I'm fucked pretty much, or I'm getting shanked, you know. But yeah, he's good throughout the film, Ving Rhames. I really like him, his performance overall too. Like, let alone he could have just looked the part and been scary enough or good enough to like scare you into thinking, oh shit, he did pretty good in the fucking film doing his part. No, he's actually got some depth to him, emotionally too. Physically, no question, of course. He's fucking yanking up and punching out fucking Jody at some point too, because he's being a dick anyway, so he deserved it. But yeah, he can show emotion too. He can show range. He can be funny when he needed to in the film as well too. So that shows further proof that not only is this a great film, as we can presume, as I'm alluding to, better get said, we haven't really done that part yet, but I can definitely say it's very well written. There's no really corny Actually, no, there's no corny lines. There's no like kind of cringe. There's no why would you even say something like that as a regular human being unless you're a fucking bot kind of lines too. The dialogue all makes sense, all flows in and out. And this is the kind of movie where it's so, I wouldn't say so filthy, but you rob it of its authenticity if you watch the TV version of it where it's heavily censored, edited, you know, gosh darn, whatever. Every time, you know, you get your head like punched in or whatever. But yeah, he's very good. I like him throughout the film. There's no question there. What was it? Oh, I was getting to. Excuse me. So, I skipped too much. That's why. Yeah, so then we cut to the part where we meet Sweet P. I think his name was P. Omar Gooden. Very good as well, too. Very funny throughout the fucking thing. He's hilarious every time he opens his mouth or even gives like a funny look with his like heavy-ass fucking thick, heavy-ass fucking eyebrows and shiny bald head and superbly light skin, too, as well. But he's funny throughout. We get introduced to him, and him and Jody are hanging out outside of, I don't even know where. It looks like Skid Row, but there's no white people again, so who knows. But they're hanging out there, and they're, you know, pushing product, per se. They're like being little Pusha T's, entrepreneurs, street entrepreneurs, per se. But one part I noticed is that Omar Gooden, or P, Sweet P, excuse me, blatantly asks one of the guys leaving the stores, quote unquote, and I wish I was making this up. You can see it yourself. I'm not making this up. Like, hey man, you want some weed? Basically. And the guy, of course, he's like courteous enough to be like, nah, I'm good. And then they realize, oh shit, we're like surrounded by, you know, dope men over here, so we might as well like break out anyway. That reminded me so much of college because I thought it was only white boys that were peddling drugs, you know, mostly weed, because that's what they're like brave enough to sell. They harbor all the good shit for them, like Ritalin and the penicillin and the fucking tranquilizers and all that shit too for themselves or their dads, because they grew up with them actually. But yeah, I thought it was only white boys on college campuses that blatantly ask you, hey man, do you want some weed? Because I got that a lot of times. And more specifically by two specific white boys. I'm not going to snitch. I'm not going to say what they look like or the names or nothing, but I remember when I went to college too, junior college, so I guess that makes more sense. The white boys there, not only did they make it so painfully obvious, they were holding stuff in their pockets or always like fidgeting around with their fucking pants or like flannel shirts and all that in the middle of summer, but if they see you often enough, or I guess in my case, if you look enough like a stereotype, in this case Hispanic, like a dirty spick that I always look like, I guess they know to be pretty upfront and be like, hey man, you want some weed? I got that perp, I got that dro, I got that kush, whatever. And I'd be like, oh yeah, what color did you get today? What color did you dye today? I was like, man, I got magenta, I got fucking tutti frutti, I got rainbow shit, I got that good, whatever. I always used to fuck with this one white boy who was like I want to say he was Irish because he was a redhead. And not my friend Ryan the Rhino. He's good on that. He's not that kind of guy. But another, oddly enough, Irish redheaded white boy that used to be on campus at LaGuardia who would just make the rounds and just like be announcing out loud to, I guess, who maybe he knew his character study or he knew how to read people like that. He knew who to fucking say that out loud to or loud enough to in passing by or like going to the fucking the little smoke spot they used to have back by the, I think this, not the C building, by like the M building. It was like right across from the little theater they had, I think in the M building on the first floor. And I never knew about that spot until fucking halfway through my fucking college career. 2 years, of course, so a year in is when I found out about that spot. But he'd always be around there, hovering, just like maneuvering around, just trying to see who we can fucking get a hold of and shit. But oh, good old times. Fucking white boys, they never change. They never do, you know. Just stop with the gentrification, perhaps. Let us keep our neighborhoods somewhat, a little piece of it, and then go about your business otherwise. Or there is this odd thing you can do, perhaps, and maybe, I don't know, pay rent where you can actually afford it, not in our neighborhoods. But, you know, that gentrification, another story for another time. All right. So, you get motherfucking, the one friend that Yvette, I believe her name is in the film, Taraji P. Henson's name, ass has in the film, who is getting whooped on, who is getting, belittled by her abusive boyfriend, as pointed out by Yvette over the phone when they're talking. But the friend who is getting whooped on, beat on, admits to it too as well, but then they kiss, fuck, and make up afterwards when it happens, is telling her ass to leave Jody because he's a no good, selfish motherfucker. He's a fucking cornball. He's not taking it seriously. He's still fucking on the side when he can, and most likely every given chance possible as well too. So what's the deal? Leave his ass. This is the kind of friend that, one, is so rare for women to have because women hate other women for the most part. And if you talk about friends being snakes and everything too, listen, women have that going on more often than they'd rather fucking admit to. Snakes amongst themselves, stabbing each other in the back, or, is that dick good enough for you? It might as well be better enough for me, so let me get some of that or slip in there whatever I can too as well. It happens. Men are dogs too. Of course, we're guilty of the same shit. But she's the one friend that's so rare that, yes, I'm fucking up, but I'm also not that fucked up where I can tell you you're fucking up too. Or you're letting yourself be dragged along for a fucking unjoyful ride by this motherfucker of all people. So get out while you can, find yourself another man, a good man, whatever too, etc., etc. But of course, Yvette, being the baby mama who's delusional and believes in her man of all people that he'll come around and change because she can do that for him, just ignores all the chit chat and says, girl, I'm good. Girl, nah, you playing. You the one getting beat up, not me. He ain't never laid a hand on me, etc., etc. That's my Taraji P Henson impression, by the way. I know I'm not getting called back anytime soon because of it, but I try. Who this been watching, by the way? I'm Who This at Who This Is One on Instagram Live. We'll try and see every Thursday or Friday what works best, but we'll play it by quote unquote ears. Will we ever get clarity on the gender diversity that is widespread in the Mushroom Kingdom? Regarding Mario, I'm sure he's pretty sure of his gender, but then again, he's a plumber. He's laid down as a pipe on Princess Peach, presumably. But then again, when you beat Mario 64, the only Mario game I ever beat 100% like that, and happy belated 25th anniversary release of the Nintendo 64 system, at least in Japan, presumably she only gave him some cake and a kiss on the cheek. So then that seems like the ultimate fucking example, the epitome of just simping and forcibly cucking Mario. So he's a cuckold, I guess you can say, because yeah, she does get snatched up by Bowser. He's always after her to presumably rescue her. But then there's Rosalina, there's the Galaxy, there's Princess Daisy, which no one gives a shit about apparently because Luigi's too busy being number 2 to a simp. So then really he's like number 3 because Bowser's number 1 in that case. But yeah, there's that going on. There is and then it cuts right afterwards when they're having their deep diving discussion into men and why they're shit. And funny enough, Jody at home in his fucking bedroom sweating profusely over, of all things, putting together a little toy replica fucking lowrider. So yeah, time well spent and invested on his bum ass, of course. Then right then and there, you cut to fucking, there's a part where him and Sweet Pea are like outside the supermarket, and apparently it's a spot where everybody comes together like fucking sell shit, like stolen presumably, and or fell off the back of a truck. So 2 fucking cushy ass pillows for $35 for the couch she bought last week from the guy that got it from the truck here that came in from out the city, and etc., etc. too as well. Funny little gem. And again, rest in peace, John Singleton. I didn't know up until now, as many times as I've seen the film, bits and pieces, and then like a couple times in its entirety, I didn't know until watching it now for this episode that was John Singleton, the guy that was trying to sell the VHS tapes in the fucking cardboard box of all things too. That was a nice little gem, and that shows that, in and of it all, he likes to have fun too and be involved in the project also. He's not too good or above being in it himself or getting his hands dirty with acting too also. Then he comes up with a scheme, apparently, Jody, at some point where, he's going to sell clothing, specifically women's clothing. And since he's good with the ladies, considering he has 2 baby mothers with babies that they routinely go back to him for that good old, big old, fat, black BBC cock, you know, he knows women. He understands their figures and their frames with help from his mother and his mother's friend, who is, oh God, what's her name? Monique. Monique, there we go. Monique, shouts to Monique. They give him advice on how to, like, know what the woman likes as far as colors, as far as knowing her size before he even tries to, like, push a dress on her, and, like, pretty much be flirty with the women to, like, get them to fucking buy into his product. Which the mom gives him a really good fucking, you know, you don't want to be, oh God, what does she use? I forget the word. A shyster. You want to be a salesman, because a salesman makes you feel good after you bought something off of him or her, because they made it worth your time, versus a shyster. They push something on you, they convince you, they lowballed you enough, and then you feel dirty afterwards anyway because you bought for cheap and probably not even to your liking like that. But whatever. So he does that, he starts doing that little hustle, it starts working for him. I remember too, like, my mom used to have friends, obviously lady friends. They used to do that back when I was in grade school and in middle school too. They used to sell shit out of the back of their trunks, nothing illegal. But then again, I never knew how they got them for the most part. Because one lady would sell bras, presumably, I guess, really high-end, fancy-esque bras. And my mom would go to her every so often, apparently, to window shop or trunk shop in this case. I think she only bought from her once. But she would go to this other lady that would have, I forget, it might have been from Colombia or I don't know where. But smart on her, my mom, she made friends with this lady who used to sell jewelry out of the back of her fucking trunk. And it would all be legit shit too. Like, my mom would know, like, she always, like, only went for the gold, the good gold, not the fucking costume jewelry, not the shit that'll turn your neck green or whatever too. She always, like, held out on, like, the good shit and bought the good shit so it would last as well. Proof in that was, like, she bought me jewelry very, very rarely, but she did, that actually lasted for years and years, and it looked years after the fact like it was just bought fucking from the window display pretty much. She got in good with her, but then I don't know what happened afterwards. They just lost contact, they fell out of good graces or whatever, and then just at the fucking age where I'm fucking finally owning up to my ethnicity, my stereotypes, and want to be gaudy and get some chains or whatever, and then all of a sudden mom's not friends with the one fucking lady who could have bought some shit off for cheap. But then, you know, that's life. Wah, of course. You know, first world problems, champagne problems. But, yeah, the hustle works. This girl, baby mother one, Taraji, always ends up going back to Jody. There's no question in that. The dick is too good. She had his baby. I guess she feels bonded to him for life, regardless of the fact that he's a fuck up, he's a slacker, he's lazy, he's not contributing to her household, he's not contributing to his mother's household, he's like just worried about fixing up her car enough so that he has a car to use to get her around from point A to point B, or from hoe 1 to baby mother B, better yet said in his case, because that's all he's worried about. And, or, you know, eating, girl, what you cooking? I'm hungry. Girl, what you cooking? I'm hungry. You know, how am I gonna replenish this BBC energy if I don't fucking get fed, girl? God damn, you fucking up and shit. It's just crazy. But there's that. Then we jump to, like, the second time, I think, or third, give or take, where Melvin, new daddy for Jody, of course, has to choke him out at some point, because he was talking that shit, Jody. He was talking about, bringing up how his kids, you know, he's got one 17-year-old son he don't talk to because he's ashamed or scared of his father. And then Melvin's got another younger daughter that, again, presumably he doesn't get to see either because, well, hello, he was too busy being in jail. How could he see them, or why would they want to see them? And no offense to anybody, you know, doing a bid right now, in jail right now currently. I'm not saying that no one's going to want to see you in jail. Of course, that depends on what you did, circumstances, you know, permitting, etc. too. But in the case of Melvin, it seems like no one really wanted to fuck with him because they were scared of him. So then he tries to brush it off with Jody talking all that shit like, youngster, whatever. Very clever use of the camera here too, because presumably, at least the first time watching, you think, that's the end of it. Like, Melvin's going to leave him alone. He's not going to do nothing. Jody got away with talking his shit like he usually does. Or like how he loves doing whenever anybody turns their back on him, immediately talking shit to me. Like, yeah, motherfucker, whatever. all that shit. We used to do that shit when we were kids. You know, all of us, we're all guilty. So he does that shit. He thinks shit is all good. I'm the fucking man of the house. I'm the man of my mom's house pretty much too. But then yoink, he gets yoked up. A motherfucking Melvin, his gigantic fucking lobster-esque type forearm arms, and he starts getting choked out and getting told, whispered in his ears like, you know, you little chocolate bitch. I'd have you on your knees so quick in jail, you'd be sucking my dick just to put me in a better mood pretty much, and you don't know how fast and how quick and how much I really want to break your neck basically too before the mom steps in. And you know, she's always blind to everything he does to Jody because she's so worried about that presumably very good BBC that Melvin's got for her at night all the time too, because he's been in jail for so long, so he's ready to get any and all kinds of ass. And when he gets some steady ass, he's plowing through that thing like he's trying to strike fucking oil in Texas dirt and soil. So yeah, he's ready to fucking plow. And you know, Jody knows, he's put on notice, like, let me fucking maybe watch my mouth if I can, because I'm a slacker, loser, fuck up. Let me try to watch my mouth a little bit at least, or let him leave the room and then I'll talk my shit, you know, not say nothing to him directly, because I know now I'll get choked out pretty much. So then we go from here, and we must acknowledge the fact that Taraji P. Henson, listen, I forget if she won an Oscar or she was simply nominated for one. Regardless of the fact, this film right here from 2001, Baby Boy, is proof in the pudding enough that if she didn't win an Oscar, forgive me for not doing my research, but I think she might have, or at least she was nominated. I forget, to be honest. If she didn't win it though, holy shit, she's eventually gonna get one and deserves one, because she plays the baby mother to a fucking T, took her to a next level, the next plateau, a platform that no one is fucking touching like that, and I don't think anyone's gonna come close to either, because every time she gets in his face, every time she's fucking pointing fingers, every time she's fucking provoking him, telling him to fuck himself, get lost, he's a dumb motherfucker, all this, all that, lazy piece of shit, whatever, it's so convincing. It's like she legit is saying that to Tyrese instead of his character Jody, or she sees the character so much in him because he does a pretty good job also of playing Jody that she just can't help but just fucking go with it and feel it the whole time. You stupid motherfucker, you fucking these hoes, and I let you come back in my house and slide up in between my sheets and get with me in bed, and I got your child, and I got this, and I paid a car note, etc., etc., etc. So a very dramatic exchange too when she finally does feel like confronting him, because she's presumably, like I guess she does every weekend, knowing how Jody is, fed up with his shit. So they have a little confrontation outside of her apartment complex, building 2, on the stairwell, where of course they gotta get loud. Everybody's hearing them, everybody can see them from the windows and shit. And of course is making the scene where he threatens pretty much to beat her, and that he's lucky that he hasn't, you know, backhanded her up until now. But then she knows he wouldn't dare. That's what she always reassures herself with and tells her friend with as well. No, he wouldn't lay a hand on me. He wouldn't dare. He's not like that. He's not crazy, whatever, too. Lest we find out later on in the film, we get proven wrong otherwise. But then, of course, yikes, at about 1 hour and 10 minutes in is when finally, because she's confronted him enough or too much to his liking, or as little as he can tolerate from her, because she swung on him first. I don't even want to say that. He is a piece of shit. We know this already, up until this point halfway through the film. He is a piece of shit. He's a lazy, irresponsible, horny, very fucking horny, and worried about his fucking self only piece of shit that he deserved to get swung on, and at least tagged once by her. The fact that he didn't let that slip and immediately reacted and backhanded her immediately and took her ass down, that's finally when she literally had to fucking get some sense knocked into her and know that, oh boy, this guy's a piece of shit. Which I always hate the idea of. I do like how it's presented in the film because it is addressed properly. Even though right after he backhands her, and this is in the fucking, of course, if you've never seen the actual version. If you've only been stuck with like the TV version or the BET version, whatever, too, watch the full version, the actual version, like on Amazon Prime, like I watched it, where you see immediately. And I don't like this part so much because that does happen in real life too much also, and it's very toxic on both ends. After he backhands her, after he fucking clearly hits her, clocks in the fucking face, she's down, she's crying, she's holding her fucking face because she's been hit, of course, by the man she loves, apparently, the father of her only child up until that point. He comes and immediately says, I'm sorry, baby, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I should have done that, I fucked up, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, you shouldn't have touched me, whatever, too, and immediately drags her, and to make it up to her, starts fucking her. I think he was eating her out, too, as well. So, forcibly, he made her have sex to make up for the fact that he hit her just now, which I don't think he ever swore or promised he wouldn't. He's always threatened, there's going to be a point in time I'm going to do it and you're going to regret it, whatever. And she's always calling his bluff about, oh, you'll never do it because you're a pussy, you wouldn't do it, you wouldn't dare. And even telling her girlfriend that, oh no, he wouldn't do that, he's not like that, he's not crazy enough, he would never hit me. But then he does. And then what happens? She's so caught up in emotions that she can't fight back, she can't protest, she's confused, as we could probably put ourselves in her state of mind and presume she's confused by it all. So then the fact that she's just letting it all happen, I wouldn't say letting it all happen like she willingly did or she doesn't know any better, but because she's so stuck in such a frantic internal emotional state of mind, she doesn't know how to react. She's just kind of stuck out there. Meanwhile, he's getting his off. He takes the keys to the cars on top of that too, and she's just left there like, I could only imagine. She thinks she's like a piece of meat basically to him, or she's just like practically a pussy for him to come back home, put a couple of cones of licking with his tongues on to get it wet enough, put it in, pull out. Hopefully they don't have another baby by mistake like they did with the first child. And then when he's bored or he wants some other girl, some other new pussy, whatever, then he just runs off and does his thing. To the point where afterwards, finally, she has to have both things happen to her, be used like that and abused like that. Where she finally, like, you know what, puts her foot down, enough at least. And first step is by taking back her car, which he took without her permission, just fucking yoinked the keys at the fucking purse or off the fucking counter, whatever. Took it and used it like he always does. And she's not gonna say anything. I always get away with this shit. She does have to fucking get her car stolen back for herself. He calls her saying, oh, the car's stolen, I'm sorry, I'll get it back for you. He's like, no, I took my car back because that's my car and whatever. And of course he's mad. Then he's forced to fucking take a bike everywhere, which, you know, to get back on a more lighthearted tone per se, the bike is pretty cool looking, but I wouldn't be caught dead in that kind of bike because it's fucking big and blue. It's like super long. It's as long as a fucking hearse car almost. And then on top of that, the handlebars, the metal, whatever that holds the fucking frame up to, or you use to like drive the shit, is like all curl and bent and coiled, which again, it looks fucking cool. I would never buy one. I wouldn't be caught dead on one. Or if I am riding on one through that hood, I would be fucking dead and riding still until I fucking lose my balance and I fall over. But I would invest in the company back when. I would have invested in the company that made those kind of custom luxury looking ass bikes, because I know those would have sold over there specifically with no trouble at all. But he's big mad, of course. He's forced to ride that bike from that point onwards because he's got no car anywhere too. Yeah. Then he has a discussion with his mother after the fact too. And according to Jody's logic, he is entitled to fuck all these other hoes that he wants because they're just hoes, but he loves her. And because he contributes, as much as he can, I'll assume, or as much as he's willing to fucking give back. He pays half the phone bill at home because this is 2001, so you still have landlines, not cell phones like that. Pays half the phone bill, stocks the fridge with groceries when he stays over at her place. And also, because he fixes the car, because he needs the car for himself too, But then he fixes the car, he maintains the car, he puts the rims and the fucking the tinting on the car too as well. So he's entitled to fucking do what he wants. He's giving back somehow, some way. So yeah, what are you bitching about, bitch? Pretty much is his logic. His mother does set him straight. He's still, it's still for him in one ear out the other, basically. So it's like talking to a fucking brick wall and hoping for the best. Something, at least one little drop of spit might stick to the fucking wall and slowly drip its way down eventually to make some sense to a crevice or like cause a little creak or a crack or something. I don't know. But then, of all things too, right after, remember we talked about Snoop being Rodney, the guy in jail. He's calling often to the house to ask about her, to call her from jail and be like, what's up, girl? What's good, girl? What's good, girl? What's happening, girl? Jody gets brave on the phone. He tells him to go fuck himself pretty much. He's a bitch. That's why he's stuck in jail. Just worry about not dropping the soap, etc., etc. Talking a lot of tough talk over the phone. This is what Jody does best. A lot of tough talk when he knows or he believes he knows he won't have to immediately respond or own up to his shit talking. But then again, dun dun dun, as she gets a knock on the door after some days has passed, presumably since Jody's been around and he's been mad at her or whatever too. Guess what? It's Rodney, Snoop Dogg, his 6'4", towering ass at the fucking door. He's home from prison and he's staying with fucking Yvette of all people. Oh God, it's funny, but the funny part was, as soon as she opens the door thinking, oh, that's Jody, my baby's back, he's back to forgive me, I'm gonna get some dick, and we gonna get some makeup sex, whatever too as well. She flings the door open. It's his fucking big, tall, lanky, perfectly, permed hair ass Snoop Dogg at the door in the frame, taking up the whole fucking frame with his fucking matchstick man build and shit too. She's like, oh shit. And it's the most sincere, convincing, hilarious oh shit I've heard in a while, because she was really ready to get some dick going in like 5 minutes or less with Jody at the door, what she thought at least, and it's this motherfucker too. It's like, oh shit. And that was fucking hilarious. Then it goes to, what was it? Yeah, then it cuts to Jody, on his bike on the regular now, because he's still on the outs with fucking Yvette. He's riding around his fucking bike, so he's like gonna console himself and buy some liquor, make himself feel better with that shit. And then he goes to the store, he buys the liquor, only to come outside, and then these boys, one boy at least, rode off with his bike, and then these other boys are laughing at him because he got stole on. And then he's like, man, you motherfuckers, you ain't gonna do shit, because they're laughing. It's like they gang up on him, they beat his ass, and then they take his liquor, and then they give his bike back because he's a bitch, presumably. He gets so worked up and mad, he has to go immediately to Sweet Pea and be like, you know what, these young busters, he goes stumbling through the front door of his home. He's like, these young busters, they fucked me up, whatever too. So they go out searching for them. Now, normally, had this been any other film, or had it been taken more seriously per se, made to be more dramatic, I wouldn't have liked this part so much, because it's basically the older heads, one of them that got beat up. He gets his boy to come back around to look for these other young boys to come try to scare them or try to shake them down with their guns, which they do. Again, had it been approached more dramatically, more seriously, I wouldn't have loved it so much. But thank God it was John Singleton, smart enough to know to make this lighthearted, funny, still somewhat serious in its tone towards the end of it too, because throughout it, it's fucking funny. Sweet Pea, Omar Gooden steals the show here, because Jody does punch one of the guys out, but he hurts himself in it because he thinks he just punched him in the teeth. Then P has to give him a whole fucking speech about it's a one-hit quitter. You gotta fucking not put all your fucking body into it. You gotta cock back just enough to fucking make impact between the fucking nose and the upper lip and shit too. That way it's a one-hit quitter. You don't gotta hurt yourself so much or put so much effort into it. So as he fucking demonstrates, he knocks one of the kids out. Then fucking Jody goes at it for his again. He knocks one of the kids out too. And then fucking Sweet Pea just starts going on a rampage, knocking this one out, knocking that one out, knocking that one out. They leave the last kid, tell him to fucking cock his chin up so he can really fucking eat a good fist. And then fucking Sweet Pea says to him, hey, you know what? Looks like you got heart. You got heart? And the boy nods yes, as he's still scared of what's gonna happen to him and shit too. He says, okay, fine, you got heart, I respect that. I'm not gonna hit you. I'm not gonna sock you right now too. But what I am gonna do is he proceeds to take off his belt and starts whipping his ass, which is, again, makes the whole thing hilarious and funny too. But then as Jody looks on from the park bench he's sitting on, he's like, damn, is this what our life's coming to? I'm fucking beating up young boys because they took my fucking drink, sipped some of it too, and probably left some spit on the rim on purpose, and took my bike and gave it back to me and called me a bitch. That's crazy. So I guess that's the point where he starts reflecting on, man, you know, there's got to be more to life than just being this right now, a fucking loser and all that shit. So let's see, where am I at now? Oh yeah, and by the way, shout outs to Omar Gooden and or Sweet P for, again, as I said right now, the whole time or any time he's on screen, he's funny. Eyebrows, facial expressions, like nice shiny bald head too aside, it's just, you know, ha 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 the whole time with him too. So shout outs to him. Let's see. We did that already. Okay. So they're still at odds. Jody and his baby mother, Yvette, or again, a dyslexia-inducing name, Taraji. I gotta remember and pause to fucking remember that she say the name properly. Taraji P. Henson. She triggers dyslexia in me whenever I try to say her name. They're still at odds. They're not good with each other. And they're still beefing per se. So much so that she comes to his house when it's time to pick up their son from his mom's house, in the rain. She's all alone. She's like distressed. She has no car. The engine fucking died. She's got her fucking homegirl picking her up and taking her point A, point B pretty much. And she doesn't tell him that Rodney's still at home. So he's just assuming that Rodney's there. He's the man in the house, the man that she wanted so much in the house, and probably dicking her down, probably fucking eating and all that shit too. So he tells her to fuck off, basically, in the rain. So it's like kind of hard to see that shit. How good she's been to him up until now and provided him with so much that he just kind of spits in the face, tells her to get lost, and in the rain of all things are really add insult to injury. And she starts crying about he doesn't love me anymore. That's it. I don't know what I'm going to do now, so let's just get out of here. It's pointless too, shit. That happens too, and it's kind of like, goddamn, you know? Goddamn it. He ends up trying to call the other baby mother, the younger girl, the prettier girl, the one that just had the younger daughter as well too, to try to get some action from her in the middle of the fucking rain. Presumably, I think that's why she turned him away. But she does say, man, go fuck yourself, because I'm tired of your ass, and if I want some dick like that, maybe I'll give you a call, click, and that's it too. That happens, he gets blown off, so pretty much he's like left with nothing per se. And I don't know. Let me see. Where am I at now? I forgot my fucking place in the notes. Oh yeah, so then finally he's at home with mom at mom's house, presumably. Mom is already fed up with his shit too, as far as like him being irresponsible. He tries to lay claim to the home, saying, this is grandma's home. What are you even talking about? This is your house. This is my house and shit. Whatever. So she finally barks on him and puts him in his place as far as he's never paid a bill. You're a grown-ass man. You don't want to work. You don't want to contribute. You just worry about yourself. When you bring your fucking babies all around here, they're my grandchildren, but still, you never asked me if you could have children. You never fucking said, oh, you know what, Mom, I'm going to try to find a place of my own to be responsible. No, you just fucking go about living your life, coming back home, acting like nothing happened. But, oh yeah, by the way, can you babysit? Can you look after my kids? Can you fucking raise them too? Can you feed them? You know, while I'm out here still in the streets, I'm still trying to do my thing as a man, etc., too. On top of that, while they're in the middle of their discussion and or argument, Melvin chimes in by saying, you know, you should listen to your mother. You know, you're an asshole, you're irresponsible, etc. Jody's like, man, go fuck yourself, and makes the mistake of trying to push him aside. Where, of course, if you're pushing a fucking former convict, a ex-prison guy as big and as intimidating as Melvin is here, it's a big mistake, and you're ready to fucking eat some feet or fist or whatever because he got his ass handed to him. He gets fucking punched in the face. He gets put through a glass table. It's like fucking WrestleMania in the living room and shit. He's getting pounded out a couple of times before Mom steps in and says, you know, stop, whatever. Jody takes it as he's getting kicked out of his own house. He takes his bike, he hauls ass, he leaves, to see where the fuck he can go. Presumably he goes to see Sweet Pea, his boy, and takes it from there. And then once they're at the fucking house over there, it's just a matter of fucking Rodney's taking over the house back at home with Yvette. He's terrorizing them both. He's dangling that fucking loose rope of I'm gonna fucking do what I want with you because I'm fresh out of prison. I got nothing else to do better with myself anyway. There's always the threat. He might try to overpower her and like take her by force, which he does in one part. It's a little hard to watch, obviously, because it is too realistic looking per se, especially in the movie version, not the TV version, which I'm sure they didn't fucking show at all, because it's to the point where he's on top of her, he's trying to take her by force again, and then Jody's son, the youngest one, is there, so he's like yanking at his fucking big lanky leg to get off her, stop hurting my mommy, whatever too as well, and basically has to stop him by saying, are you gonna rape me in front of my son? So yeah, it's a hard to watch that part, but it is, you know, the situation at hand, considering the point of the movie we're in too. So then finally she's able to tell him that that's happening, or that had happened, specifically that little incident, because in the meanwhile, while she's telling him that over at Sweet Pea's house, what's his name, Rodney, is also plotting on finally pulling up on motherfucking Jody and blasting his ass, drive by presumably, of course, and getting rid of him because he talked all that shit over the phone. He still tries to treat him like a little bitch and shit too as well, and he gets no respect and let alone no ass from Yvette in his house, which he keeps justifying as, I hit it first, you had his baby, big deal, good for him, good for you, but you know, I deserve some too. And he's not getting any, so of course he's big mad and probably big horny still. So enraged, he takes the car from her. He plans to drive by. They're both at home. Jody at first thinks it's Yvette pulling up to pick him up in her or their car, but it's really, of course, dun dun dun, Rodney in the driver's seats, rolls his window down. It's him. He knows to start running because of the face alone that he makes, you know, threatening and all that. Points the gun, and this is where I get confused, because I don't know if it's supposed to be symbolic, philosophical, what the meaning was. So help me out here, or point out what I missed perhaps, or if it went over my head like that per se. But he does get shot. They make you think he gets shot, because you see fucking Rodney shooting, busting off a gun. Jody gets hit a couple of times, violently, dramatically, very bloody like too. One in the rib, one in the shoulder, and he's fucking shimmying. He's doing the Millie Rock. He's doing the fucking Harlem Shake, because it's 2001, remember, so that was the big dance back when. Like, or kind of like the RoboCop scene, where the first RoboCop was getting blasted, even though he's on the ground, and they started off, I think, with his hand, and then like his arms and shit too. But like the way he's like twisting and turning, he's like chubby checking, you know, twisting shit like whatever, all dramatic and slowed down, and with opera music playing in the background too. He drops. Sweet Pea's worried. He's shooing away the girl in the house about like, what do I do? Oh my God, do I call 911 or whatever? While after he's trying to shoot back at the car, and he missed him completely. But then it cuts away, and you see Jody has nothing on him. No bloodstains, bullets. He's like in his white tee, his white flannel. Everything's clean as fuck. It's like he just fell down or fainted or passed out. Nothing on him. And he just keeps saying, I thought I died. I thought I died. Even though we saw fucking Rodney shoot his ass up, presume he's dead, and that's it. He gets up like nothing. I thought I got shot. I thought I was killed, whatever. And then Rodney comes around again, starts, or maybe he did for real this time, starts blasting, but Jody's able to actually dive out the way this time, so he's untouched, unscathed. I'm still a little confused. He might have just saw it in his head, or maybe he just dreamt the whole thing right before the thing itself actually happened, in that split-second window of Rodney shows his face in the car before he pulls out the gun and starts shooting, and where Jody's standing and he's just taken aback by what the fuck's happening or what could potentially happen. But then he is able to dive out of the way. Rodney drives off, Now they plot on fucking pulling up on his ass in exchange, Rodney. They do so, and Rodney goes back home. There's no lights on. He's like mad about that. He has to go back to the fucking fuse box and turn the lights on in the apartment. I guess it was planned. I guess it was planned all along, because then Jody is right next to him, and then so is fucking what's his name, Sweet Pea. They both pull up on him. Rodney swings off on fucking Jody. He knocks him down. He runs away with his big fucking 6'5" lanky fucking ass. Takes flight. Boom, boom, boom. He's out of there. And then they give chase and they start shooting. And of course, Sweet Pea starts demanding that shoot, God damn it, shoot. We're out to kill this motherfucker. Jody finally shoots him in both fucking calf muscles, which, you know, shout out to Snoop Dogg. He's so fucking painfully thin. I don't know if he had any calf meat to afford like that in real life. Hence why he wore such baggy clothing, but he gets hit in both legs. He goes down. They're supposed to kill him. Jody can't fucking bring himself to kill him or shoot him dead. So then fucking Sweep, he does the honors. Bum, 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 bum. Like 5 times and shit too. He's dead. He's gone. Forgotten about. They fucking break out. They're gone from there too. Next thing you know, we don't really know if, or what happened. We don't know what happened, presumably to, well, we do see Sweet Pea afterwards. But then finally, Jody runs back home. Makes his way back home in his room. He's crying. He drops down in the corner with the fucking gun in his hand still, worried and reflecting on what he just did. Even though he didn't kill anybody, he shot a man finally, twice, in the legs. And had Sweet Pea do the honors for him to be brave enough to actually kill fucking Rodney. So he's scared. He's caught up in the moment and emotions and shit, crying and shit, like wondering what he fucking did. He keeps saying before the fucking shooting that he's not built like that. He's not trying to have like that shit weigh down on his heart too either. But Sweet Pea's like, if you do it, let's do it. If you don't want to do it, I get it too. But then they did it already, so it's already done. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap, pretty much. Melvin comes in surprisingly, senses something's wrong. He sees him crying in the fucking corner. Jody does cock the gun back. It's like he's gonna shoot him just because he's scared of him, or they've been having beef for a while anyway, up until this point. But Melvin knows already. Melvin knows Jody done some dirt. He did a bad thing with a gun. He probably knows he didn't kill him, but he knows he shouldn't have done it anyway. Offers a fucking bed sheet, cloth, whatever, to put the gun in, wrap the gun, wipe his prints off the gun. He takes care of the gun, and I'll presume he fucking just did what he had to do with the gun to get rid of the evidence, pretty much. So from there, they're good. It's like a silent, you know, between me and you kind of father-son bond-ish. I understand. I know what to do. I know what you did. Scared you, what was wrong and all that too. But I got this. Don't worry. Just don't tell your mother, basically. As I'm sure a lot of good fathers and sons have amongst themselves too. Their little secrets and whatnot. Finally, you know, that's where the movie ends. Jody finally comes to the realization he's been a baby boy for so long in the way he's acting, but he no longer has to be that way as far as who he is as a man, his character, what defines him as a man. So finally, he's on good terms with his mama. He hasn't been around. He hasn't been leeching off of her at home or just not making money or contributing to. He's asking her if she needs any money too as well, checking on a garden and all that. Him and Melvin are finally good. They say like a very peaceful goodbye, you know, take care of my mother, you know, keep her in good spirits and all that shit, keep dicking her down good, because then I'll have to come around and then I'll have to ask like, you know, why is my mama unable to get out of bed? You've been pounding her out too hard. You know, I told her give us a good dick, but not the best dick possible, because now you fucking blew her back out. And she got a herniated disc on top of that too. How's she gonna fucking work and do anything with herself? But you know, that happens. Then it cuts to a sunset, an overcast, I'm going to say, over LA of all places, where I read the other day apparently that the most polluted cities, or pollution itself, is what gives us the best looking sunsets that we'll ever see, which is surprising. I'm sure there's a whole lot of science that could explain why, but this sunset, this skyline they give us is like cotton candy pink, blending in the orange. I want to say it's like visual effects. It's something they did in the editing bay per se to make it look that way. But it looks oddly enough like so enticing and yet so kind of chaotic too, because up until this point he's been through so much, he's seen so much and did so much, but it's still kind of beautiful in itself, beautiful regardless. So it's probably more symbolic. But then cutting to the end, it's him and fucking Yvette in the park. She's knocked up again, they're good, and it's a cute ending actually before they make the park scene, because it ends with him finally heading back home to her apartment. He lives there for good now, but he's been so used to fucking knocking on the door to be let inside that before he knocks at the door, he remembers, oh shit, I got keys now. This is my home. This is who I share my home with, my woman, my child, all that too. Then they go to the part that plays during the credits, where again, just like they did with fucking Ferris Bueller's Day Off, they have a whole scene playing during the credits, which will make the credits much more, enjoyable or easier to sit through. And I don't know why they don't do that more often, but they do that here too. They got the whole scene of them playing cards in the park while she's pregnant with a second child on the way during the credits. So it makes you sit there, appreciate, like a little post-credit, like after dinner dessert kind of treat per se, for like, okay, you sat through the whole thing, enjoyed it, here you go, one more little tidbit to send you off on the fucking feel-good ride. And then that's when the movie ends. But then again, it leaves you to wonder, oh shit, he had the other daughter with the other girl, or other baby mother, the younger one. So what happened to her? And what happened to that kid? There's no mention, there's no reference back to them too as well either. So I'm sure if we were to explore the story more, or the realm more, maybe there's some reference to them, but probably not, who knows. But that is Baby Boy from 2001. 20 years later, starring, of course, Tyrese, and as well Taraji P. Henson, Snoop Dogg, Ving, Rhames, and some other people too, Omar as well. And yeah, that's the end of it now. We made it to that final part 2 where I finally properly incorporate the ears as per popular demand, as a lot of people are asking, what the fuck is good with those ears? Do they fucking move? Can they show emotional range? Kind of like Omar Gooden's face throughout the whole fucking movie too. They absolutely do. And here they are in action. So of course, because of that, I based the whole rating system off the fucking ears to let you know that I have heard your voices, I have heard your concerns, and here we go. Listen, out of a possible 2 ears, which would mean it's a classic masterpiece, great, phenomenal, Godfather level of fucking, I guess you could call it hood films, coming to life, coming of age films per se too. What am I going to give Baby Boy from 2001? Again, starring Tyrese Gibson. Let me put some respect on his name, because this was actually a very pleasant watch, and the first time I watched it in a long time in its entirety, ever since release from back when 2001. Also, let's not forget, on no way, shape, or form, or lesser scale, let's not forget Taraji P. Henson. Beautiful performance throughout the fucking thing. So much emotional range and so much distress in the character. I loved in this fucking thing. There's no better baby mother, angry, despair, fed up black woman who's had enough in any other fucking movie than fucking Taraji P. Henson here. Fucking Snoop Dogg, a great performance too as well, very enjoyable. Ving Rhames is too as well, also very enjoyable, very fun, very fucking just beautifully casted, as well as Omar Gooden, fucking hilarious and funny. I don't know if we ever got a lot more of him on this level of fucking movie, but I hope so, and I hope to do the research, because goddamn, he was funny. But out of 2 ears, what am I giving Baby Boy? I like to say there's few to almost no bad with this film. Maybe it's a little long at 2 hours. I'm still not clear on the fucking drive-by scene where Jody's presumed to be dead, but then he's not. I'm going to say that's more of a philosophical thing, of like, life can come at you in a split second, at the drop of a hat. So that maybe there was that little bit of space and time between Rodney actually pulling out on him and shooting versus his reaction time. Maybe that's all it was. It was just him envisioning what could have happened, because he does get woken up to bad dreams of him dying, people around him at the funeral, his mother and baby mother's crying over him too as well. And it's the constant fear and agony, I guess, of, probably rightfully so, every black man that grows up in a very sketchy neighborhood or just in general too. I mean, we're not going to dive into politics or any that shit either right now. That's not really a platform for it too, but maybe that's the underlying fear of it all too. And also, he's always making reference to his mother about, well, you kicked my brother out the house because of a man, and he went out to the streets and he died because of that too. So presumably he's fearful of that happening to him as well too. But yeah, a little long. 2 hours might have been a little too long for like a story that kind of hit its points very early on. But then again, I can't really say what scenes could have been left out or what we could have done with less of, because it's funny when it's funny, it's dramatic when it's dramatic, it's emotional when it's emotional too. So it kind of makes sense at 2 hours. You don't really feel the 2 hours anyway, so it's enjoyable, it's very good overall. Like, you don't really regret staying tuned, or like you don't really want to fall asleep either. It's good throughout. You don't really get to love Jody so much, which is good, but it's also bad because when he's a dick or he's doing his dirt, it's too close to home, I'd say. Or like, well, because I come from a single parent household too. My mother put up a lot with my father, getting beat sometimes, and a lot of verbal abusing and purposely getting cheated on because he felt like doing that to her to make her hurt. So that bothered me a little bit too, seeing those parts, and especially the hit and all that. I'm not trying to cancel the movie or nothing like that either, but it's like, damn, that kind of hit too close to home. So it's like, it's hard to kind of really praise something like this overall. But it is good because it's presenting an actual real narrative, not something like Hollywood fluff piece where it's like everybody's good. Well, then again, there is the fact that Jody and fucking Sweet Pea killed a man because he did try to fucking force a woman into doing something she didn't want to. We understand that, but they kind of got away with it like free and clear. Like, and then on top of that, Sweet Pea does get baptized, as he's been alluding to throughout the film, that he wants to go holy, he wants to serve the Lord and shit. And even the one quote where he makes Jody pray for him, pray with him before they roll out to try to kill fucking Rodney, about, God, dear God, fools be messing up and all that too, but we honest and all that. So that's a little bit odd. I mean, yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm gonna give this one a fucking 1.5 here. I'm not gonna say it's a classic just because it might be a little too long, and I've seen this already, so I knew what to expect as far as a good movie's concerned. They could have trimmed the fat there. Maybe it didn't have to be so real or so kind of like impactful like it was, or dramatic when it gets like that too. But then again, it'd be robbing it kind of like of its authenticity, I guess, better yet said. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at 1.5 years. It's not perfect. You don't necessarily feel the 2 hours, but it is a little long for its own good. That's about it, really. I mean, I really can't complain about it. But yeah, and don't ever watch the TV version. It's really robbed of its essence if you do that to yourself too as well. So Spike TV, True TV, BET, whatever, just relax and give us the real shit after like midnight or something like that, so we can actually consume the film in its purity, as the purest form available. But that has been Who This Been Watching for Thursday. This Thursday, again, focusing on Baby Boy from 2001. 20th year anniversary coming up very soon for it. So I enjoyed watching this shit, just like I hope you enjoyed watching me here live on Instagram first at Who This Is One for the uncut, uncensored, and uncircumcised version of Who This Been Watching. If not, you're probably catching this up on the YouTube version, youtube.com/Who This Is One, and or you're probably listening to the audio version only. That's fine too as well. This, as well as Fuck It, my other podcast, is available on all podcasting platforms of your preference. Choose one, pick one. I am on that one, like I'm on your ass, like I'm in your ears, like I'm in your fucking eyes, with each and every episode every fucking week of Fuck It, as well as Who This Been Watching. That's me right here. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Next week, obviously, that's what I'm referring to. Till then, be good. And don't be a baby boy. You baby boy.